With that margin, what we need to do is get this into the touchdown zone. So we ain't looking for butter, we're just going to get it down. If we don't get it down in the touchdown zone, what we're going to do. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at calculating our landing speeds using primarily the ToLiss aircraft. So as you've seen, we're in the ToLiss A320. We're on our way back home from our day out down to Faro, and we're going to be landing in Liverpool. Okay, so here's the METAR on the screen. Now, why is the METAR even important? You know, when you go and get the ATIS and you write it down, what are you actually thinking? Perhaps what we should be thinking is our airfield actually open? Is the runway sufficient for the conditions? So as you can see right now, IFR conditions are in play due to the low visibility, and we've got some rain as well down there. So I'm thinking as well what our braking action is going to be like when we land on runway 27. So just a quick intro then into the ToLiss landing performance calculator, and this is explained in the manual, but the bit I'm going to use today, I've just come in here. The defaults on there are that it fetches the current METAR. As you can see, it's popped that into the EFB here, and the default values there. So when we compute that, we get two values: landing distance required and the actual predicted landing distance. Now this one is obviously the lower of the two values, and this doesn't take into account the braking settings. So for example, as you can see at the moment, the default's based on brake low. If I just choose brake medium, the landing distance, the legal landing distance, doesn't change. What will change is the predicted landing distance. So you see there, that's still 1278, but auto brake medium, as we know, is a lot more aggressive than low, so it's going to stop us sooner. However, back to today, I'm just going to hit reset there. So going to go down here just to make sure that everything's as we expect. We've got no surprises. That's the wind, the temperature, the QNH, runway condition. Okay, so we're going to set this to wet. And anti-ice. Now what do we think? Are we going to be using the anti-ice? Because if we are, that's probably going to add a few more knots to our speed. So if I just pop on there engine anti-ice, for example, you can see there it's increased the landing distance required, but we'd still have sufficient margin. Let's just take that off, because with the SAT actually above 10 degrees, I don't anticipate needing to use that. So wet off. Landing weight. Yep, so that's based on our zero fuel weight when we took off, 63 tons. So that is correct. So we'll use config full. As you know, I do like my config 3 arrivals, but we'll go with full today. If we did go with config 3, would we have enough room there? We've only got 372 meters available as it is, so we shorten that by about 150 meters. So not today. Air conditioning, that will remain on, and the pilot VAP, well, if I wanted to do a different VAP to what's in the box there, I could go ahead and type that in. So auto brake low and reverse thrust will be selected, and I typically use idle reverse these days. So as you can see, with that margin, what we need to do is get this into the touchdown zone. So we ain't looking for butter, we're just going to get it down. If we don't get it down in the touchdown zone, what we're going to do, we're not going to flare down the runway and go, oh look, I can get a buttery landing. No, if it ain't going down in that touchdown zone, we're going around. And in that case, you'll have to tell your virtual airline that they will have to whistle for their little less than 100 foot per minute landing rate. Okay, so let's just confirm here the approach page is correct, and I entered all these details when we were back up in the cruise there. There's something that if you are watching this as you're going along, the VAP there is 136. I just want to go back to the EFB. Actually, before I go back to the EFB, so the VLS there, you can never go lower than that. That's why it's in green. If you remember, that's the Airbus philosophy. Anything in green you can't change on these pages. Anything in blue you can do. So the standard VAP is a minimum of 5 knots above the lowest selectable speed, and I think it's up to a maximum of 15 knots. It will normally depending upon what your wind strength and direction is, it will normally make a pretty good job of that. But just remember, half the headwind plus the gust component, and that's what it's going for there. So I just came back here and did a reset. It's probably because, you know, as when you're making these videos, I'm not doing everything in one shoot. I'm going back trying a few things, so it might have just got a value stuck in there from previous. So as you can see, they were down to 136, so that's fine. It does give us a bit more margin as we want in these conditions. Okay, so we're going to skip forward to the landing itself, but at the moment it's not looking too bad out there. In fact, this is probably good as well for a reminder just while I'm doing this. So I've gone into heading select just so that I can take this turn a bit wider. So if I now push, which I would normally do to take us down to 2000, it's not going to let us do it, and that's because we've gone into heading select, so it can't compute the VNAV profile. So all I'm going to do there, let's just use flight level change. So just pull, thrust idle, open descent, and down we go. And you can see there the little green ball that I'm going to talk about on another one where I've just got the magnifying glass open over it. That's our vertical deviation there. So it just showed at that point they were a little bit too high, but as you can see, that's coming back up very nicely now.
2,500.
Yep, okay, and I'll just make a turn in a moment. So you can see now again, the 09 there means 900 feet, actually now too low. But it's a safe height. So
2,000.
let's make our turn there. Still using heading select. It's just struggling there, I think, with the change in winds. Okay, so performance. Yep. Approach mode is active now. How can we tell? First clue, 136 knots is the speed that it wants to aim for. I'm going to go now and take config 1 and start to just move the heading around there. Localize scales, they can go on. Autopilot's disconnected. Missed approach altitude is 3000. So just bring the nose down a bit. Back up a bit. Just
100 above.
Correcting here as necessary.
200.
Just bringing the nose up there to meet the glide slope. Keeping it on the centre line. Back down again. Nice wet runway ahead of us there.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 10. Retard. 5.
Okay. And reverse. $70 knots. Reverse is stowed. Down to 30 knots.
Auto brake off.
What he said. What did you think to that then? 2 hours and 39 minutes back from Faro. Back into a very wet Liverpool. Sorry about that, folks. Can't control that. So how did we do that? Sorry, that's a nice little X-Plane 12.1.0 feature there, isn't it? Ooh, got a reflection in there. And the spray. Very nice. Right, where's my gate? Okay, so how did we do? So at the top, I've put the values from the EFB, just converted those into feet, and then below from stable approach, just converted those values from feet into meters. And if we add the two together, in terms of the distance that we took to stop down to like a taxi speed, with what we had remaining, it shows that we stopped more or less 864 which shows that we were kind of within the required distances from the EFB and not necessarily within those that were predicted. But again, it just reinforces the importance of planning. This started with checking the ATIS. That gave us some vital information, particularly in the planning phase, and kept us ahead of the game. And as you know, that's how I like to be in it's certainly my flight simming. So hopefully some good takeaways for you. Any comments or questions, let me know. Do like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon on a future video. Thanks for viewing, and bye bye. That's fine. So if we sort of level the wings out just here, maybe then we'll just go over to 300 degrees. I'm going to pop in the approach mode. So let's just check the cabin. Everything's secure. Approach mode, so we've got glide slope and localizer. They're not armed, they're waiting. Now you can see lock star, that means it's just become, localizer's just become active. Okay, glide slope's moving down, glide slope's captured. Let's go now with config 2. A bit of ballooning there going on, but we're actually just ballooning up there into the glide slope. So that's nice, speed's coming back down. Perfect, 5.8 miles to go, gear down. Let's go config 3. So as we expect, can't yet see the runway out there. Just waiting for signs that Liverpool is waiting to welcome us in this grey weather. Okay, winds are as we'd expect, 300-ish, 9 knots, config full. So what are we, 3.7 miles. Should get visual any moment, start to see the ground. So 278 on the Barrow is our MDA, so got plenty of time yet. Start to see the fields there, should get the lights any moment. Just because I'm flying this by myself and to reduce the workload, I'm just going to go with flight directors off for now. Let it follow there, the glide slope localizer. There's the runway. I'll just pause, so just got that wind there from the right that we can feel. So note to self, when we touch down, need to be working the rudders. Autopilot's disconnected. Missed approach altitude is 3,000. So we'll just bring the nose down a bit.
300.
Just
100 above.
correcting here as necessary.
200.
Just bringing the nose up there to meet the glide slope.
Minimum.
Down again. There's wet runway ahead of us there.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 10. Retard. 5.
Auto brake off.